Away we go on a Monday. This is a Modelo Monday here on Big 12 Today. Heard on TuneIn and watched as part of Big 12 Studios. Great to have you with us today and every day in your home for the Big 12. A lot to get to today. Just 4 games left in the Big 12 schedule to figure out who's going to compete and play for a Big 12 championship at AT&T Stadium in Arlington that first week in December. Along with Taman Turner, who is filling in today for James Wesley. I am Ari Tepke. Great to have you with us today here on Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio. A lot to get to. 4 games left, 7 games as part of the Week 9 slate. We've got an undefeated BYU squad, still undefeated, surviving against Iowa State. We've got 2 undefeated teams in conference play. We've got 2 other teams that have at least 1 loss in conference play. So this thing is coming down to the wire, Taman. It's going to be a very fun final month of the season here.
It's so fun, football season midway through the year, but it's so sad that we have 4 games left, like Big 12 games left. It seems like it just started, and now we're like, in the heart of the finish. So it's going to be a fun finish.
You got to drink in football season when you have it. All right. As we do each and every Monday, we put a minute on the clock and go through each and every one of these Big 12 games. So let's do that first and foremost before we dive into the big stories from the Big 12 Week 9 slate from this weekend. All right, Taman, where are we starting?
We are starting at Colorado and Utah.
All right, this thing was, a blowout from the start. This thing was 43-0 at halftime as I look for my notes here, which is fine because it's going to take me a little bit. This thing was 43-0 at halftime. Utah absolutely dominated up front on both lines of scrimmage here, Taman. Offensively, defensively. True freshman quarterback Bird Ficklin had to start for injured Devin Dampier, and it did not matter. Utah bludgeoned Colorado to the tune of 422 rushing yards. It was an absolute avalanche on the ground. They had 587 total yards and 7 sacks on Colorado. Again, this thing was 43-0 at halftime. It wasn't ever close, Taman. Just an absolute dominant performance, and even without Devin Dampier, this was exactly the blueprint of how Utah wants to play, with regardless of who has that quarterback. And I thought Ficklin, as a true freshman making his first start, played fairly well.
Yeah, it was a blowout. I mean, Deion Sanders said it perfectly. It was a whooping. It was the worst whooping he had taken since his mom had whooped him. We'll hear from that later. Wayshawn Parker had 145 yards, a touchdown, 10 carries. Caden Salter could not. He just kept getting pressure. He got sacked 5 times before halftime. This was ugly. This was not close. It was a straight beatdown. All right, coming up next, we have TCU in West Virginia.
All right, well, a win is a win is a win for TCU as they got to 6-2, and they're once again bowl eligible. So congratulations to Sonny Dykes and the TCU Horned Frogs, who are quietly 6-2 now. But this was a big night for Eric McAllister. He was a target monster, 9 catches for 124 yards, the lone TCU touchdown, and then repeatedly bailed out TCU on third down situations. But situational football won this game for TCU. 3 Nate McCashland field goals from 35, 22, and 41. That was the margin. 2 fourth-quarter time-burning drives studied the game for TCU and kind of allowed them to be in control. I mean, this was pretty close throughout, and TCU just kind of kept West Virginia at arm's length. And Scotty Fox started for West Virginia and flashed a little bit as a true freshman, threw for 301 yards and 2 scores.
Yeah, TCU came out strong. I mean, they led 20-7 at halftime. I mean, they were able to – this game was a lot closer, I think, than people were anticipating it to be. But, I mean, kudos for West Virginia. They obviously have had a tough season, but they were able to make something out of it. As you mentioned, Scotty Fox threw for 2 touchdowns, and, Rich Rodriguez was happy with the way he played. So, I mean, kudos to them. TCU, for the most part, they got the win, and that's what matters. All right, next one on the list, we have Kansas and Kansas State. I think you know a little bit about that game.
Not gonna lie, I think you're compromising the ability of the alarm there. I think we've gone well over a minute here. All right, 1 minute on the clock for Kansas and Kansas State here, and do we even need a full minute? This was an absolute demolition job. 17 straight now for the Kansas State Wildcats. This is a game I was at, and I'll give you my thoughts on the overall experience later on in the show. But this thing was 21-14 Kansas State in the third quarter. And then a ball thrown for Keaton Kubeka for Kansas was tipped in the air and intercepted by Kansas State. Kansas State then went on to outscore KU 21-3. KU had 4 turnovers in this game. Kansas State muffed the opening kickoff. Kansas then took it in for a touchdown to go up 7-0, and basically Kansas State dominated from there on out. This was the Jace Brown show. Jace Brown has been dominant for K-State against Kansas, and he put this thing to rest with a 78-yard touchdown catch that pretty much put this thing to bed at 35-17. Jalen Daniels, who had been very good all year for Kansas, was not very good in this one. He missed guys in big spots and was just off a few times to Henderson.
Yeah, I feel bad for Jalen Daniels, and I got the buzzer, but I feel bad for Jalen Daniels. He didn't get to beat K-State like he wanted to, so I feel for him there. Next one on our list, we have Houston and Arizona State.
Maybe he should have played better. What a win by Willie Fritz. Congratulations to Houston. What an unbelievable season. Their over-under win total for the year was 5.5 coming in. They're now 7-1, and they have the most impressive win of the season. They knocked off Arizona State at Arizona State, snapping a 10-game home winning streak. Last time Arizona State lost at home was 2023. Sam Leavitt was knocked out of this game twice. Houston was up 24-0 heading into the fourth quarter and then survived a furious fourth-quarter rally to hand Arizona State its first loss at home since 2023. Connor Wigman was the tone setter, had 201 passing yards, 111 rushing yards, 3 total touchdowns, and Tanner Koziel topped 100 receiving yards. Arizona State was undone by 12 penalties, 2 missed field goals, a targeting ejection, and an illegal shift that erased a touchdown.
I give Houston all the credit in the world, especially Arizona State coming off that big win against Texas Tech. I know Jordan Tyson was out. I know that Sam Leavitt got thrown out and got injured. I should say not thrown out, but he got injured. But still, Houston's going out there and winning games despite what faces their way. Next one we have is Baylor at Cincinnati.
All right, Cincinnati once again imposed their will on the ground. First 2 drives for the Bearcats.
Walker, the running back.
15 carries, 104 yards, and 2 touchdowns, 14 points. So 2 drives, 14 points, 7 yards a carry with 2 touchdowns. Cincinnati then went up 24-0. And similar to the Arizona State game, Baylor mounted a comeback and got it close. Got it to within 27-20 after a 12-play, 74-yard drive to start the fourth quarter. Then Cincinnati answered with a long drive, 12 for 75, with 7:21 off the clock to make it 34-20. And then on the ensuing kickoff, Cole Wilson for Baylor fumbles the ball, which then allows Cincinnati a short field, and they score right away to make it 34-20. That was it. This game was wild because in the second half there were 4 drives, 2 by each team that went at least 9 plays and spanned at least 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Baylor 9 for 79, 419, and a touchdown. Cincinnati 12 of 57 for 521 and a field goal. Baylor 12 for 74, 641, a touchdown. Cincinnati 12 of 75 for 721, a touchdown. So a lot of long drives, Taman, in the second half of this one.
Yeah, I feel bad for I don't feel bad. I said Cincinnati started off fast. I think you summed it up well. Let's go to the next one. Oklahoma State at Texas Tech. This is an interesting one.
Yeah, no kidding. Texas Tech now, Taman, down to its third-string quarterback. Mitch Griffiths had to finish this game after Will Hammond left this game with what we now know as a torn ACL. Griffiths led 2 8-play drives for 80 yards, capped those drives off with a long touchdown pass to Caleb Douglas and a 1-yard rushing score. This game was never in doubt. Jacoby Williams, on the opening kickoff, with no tortillas being thrown on the field, Taman, houses it from 99 yards, and then they block a punt and then score right away. So, 4 minutes into this game, it's 14-0 Texas Tech.
Yeah, I think this game was never in doubt. Texas Tech was easily going to win this game. Baron Morton, you mentioned the injuries. He was listed as an emergency quarterback. But even though Texas Tech won the game, you mentioned Will Hammond having his torn ACL, and we know the injuries that Baron Morton has. Will this be a problem for them going forward? I guess we'll have to find out.
Yeah, Jacob Rodriguez with an incredible scoop and score touchdown, if you will, or a fumble recovery for touchdown, or he just took the ball straight away from Valahi and took it to the end zone.
All right, so our last one that we have is BYU at Iowa State.
Yeah, I said earlier that Houston's win over Arizona State at Arizona State was the most impressive win of the Big 12 season, but BYU's win here on the road against Iowa State was super impressive, especially because they were down in this one. It was all Iowa State, 24-10 at halftime. Iowa State racked up more than 300 yards of offense, and with BYU had to play the entire second half, giving up 300 yards of offense without L.J. Martin in the second half, who left this game, and Sarah, their linebacker. They then proceeded to outscore Iowa State 31-3 the rest of the way. This thing slowly got out of hand for Iowa State, but basically it was tied 24-24 heading into the fourth quarter, and Iowa State muffs a punt. BYU scores 34-27, and then Beck throws a pick six to make it 41-27. It was 2 scores and 2 bad mistakes for Iowa State, about 41 seconds of gameplay, and that cost them in this one.
All right. I imitate your sentiments. Put some respect on BYU's name. Some respect. RESPEK. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, Taman, I guess any other thoughts overall on these 7 games we just went through?
I think that BYU is really a problem. I think that they are the best team in the Big 12. I know Texas Tech is very, very good, and I know they did what they had to do. But I like what you said about BYU. I know they were down, but this is how they play. This is not something that really came as a shock. I think it was more impressive that they were able to do it without L.J. Martin, with him being injured. But Bear Bachmeier is a dog. I mean, I know he's a true freshman, and James said he's not a freshman anymore. I have to agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was impressive. In fact, good chance he'll be the player of the week this week, and a hard decision between I would say, Connor Wegman and maybe Brennan Sorsby all in the conversation. And it's kind of interesting because to some degree, the Big 12 continues to be a league of parity this year with Houston, Cincinnati, and right now at the top of the conference, and then maybe some teams that we expect to be the top of the conference, not exactly playing at that level, especially Iowa State and Kansas State and 2 in particular. But beyond that, I mean, Texas Tech was expected to be good. They've been very good. But major question mark about the quarterback position for Texas Tech moving forward. So I think, big picture takeaways here, ultimately, you've got 2 undefeated teams in conference play right now in Cincinnati and BYU. Texas Tech and Houston are both 4-1, and Utah feels like they're still in it at 3-2 in conference play, while Arizona State and K-State, TCU are all 3-2 as well, but tough sledding when it comes to some of those tiebreakers, which we'll get into later on in the show. But basically, you've got 4 games left, and Arizona State, interestingly enough, is in the same spot it was last year at this time, at 3-2. The difference being, when you look at their schedule, they don't have the teams at the top of the conference that they could make up some of these tiebreakers against, like they did last year, where they were able to go head-to-head against these teams and beat them, which put them in a position to play for a Big 12 championship. We'll see. But at this point, with 4 games left, a lot can happen. You have to wonder, though, if teams like BYU and Cincinnati will end up getting the 2 losses, or even Texas Tech or Houston as well, getting the 2 losses in conference play. But Houston, BYU, and Cincinnati with the 3 biggest wins of the weekend. Texas Tech keeps pace, but what do they do with their quarterback situation? And then Arizona State as well, in the same spot they were last year at 3-2 at this part of the year, Taman. But no Sam Levitt. He left this game twice, got knocked out twice, and then Jordan Tyson did not play. It was actually kind of impressive, the furious rally and comeback that Arizona State had in this game, because no Tyson throughout. Obviously, we know the impact that has. And then Sam Levitt got knocked out twice in this game.
Arizona State is going to go out there and play their type of football. They're not going to make any excuses for it, but you have to look at their injury situation. We don't know how long Jordan Tyson's going to be out. That played a factor. Sam Levitt is going through numerous injuries, according to Kenny Dillingham. So if Arizona State is going to proceed moving forward, sure, they're in the same situation that they were last year, but these injuries are piling up, and that's going to be a problem. You have to assume as we finish the stretch here.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at Texas Tech, Tech travels to Kansas State to take on K-State next weekend. They haven't beaten Kansas State. Texas Tech has not beaten K-State in a decade. And then the Red Raiders welcome BYU. So, I mean, tough stretch here for Texas Tech, and it'll be interesting to see what the situation is with Barrett Morton and Arizona State as well. To your point, they're just not getting healthier, and in a situation where, as much as you want to trumpet your depth, if you're Arizona State, just hard to win games without, 2 potential NFL players, Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson. All right, so much to get to today in terms of big picture here on this Modelo Monday. This is Big 12 Today, plus we continue our coverage of Big 12 basketball media days. We were in Kansas City last week, and so we'll hear from Cincinnati Hoops later on in the show. Also going to be visiting with Jeremy Branham from the University of Houston. He is their basketball play-by-play guy, but also does some work for football. We'll talk about their big win to get to 7 wins now on the season. Matt Tate as well from who covers Kansas, who I bumped into at the game on Saturday. He joins us to break down what happened with Kansas and how hot is the Lance Leipold seat at this point in time. But I got to say, Taman, great trip to Lawrence, Kansas. Had a blast. It's funny because my wife is super weather conscientious.
Okay.
So, when we're looking at going to a game this year, wanted to go to a KU game this year with the new stadium, wanted to see it, wanted to bring the kids up to Lawrence.
Sure.
They've been, but it had been a long time since COVID, basically, when, my 7-year-old was 2 and my 10-year-old was 5. So
this
much.
is their first, memory, true memory.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, exactly. And so, we're looking at dates, and it's like, oh, this will be perfect. We'll go for the Kansas State game. It'll be nice because the weather shouldn't be too bad. It'll be, not quite late October, not quite November. Weather should be nice. And, as luck would have it, of course, from the moment we left Dallas, basically until we got about 2 hours north of Dallas, heading back on Sunday, it was overcast, cold, and rainy for the entire time. The drive north from Dallas all the way to Lawrence, then in Lawrence, and then the drive all the way back until we got about 2 hours north of Dallas is when it started to get a little bit of sunshine, a little bit warmer.
Yeah, the weather was not great all weekend, whether it sounds like your entire trip. But it wasn't great here in Dallas either.
But it was cold. The difference there was it was very, very cold.
Yeah, I will say this. It was chilly for Dallas standards, if that makes sense. But,
yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was chilly for Dallas standards. But, Ari, do you ever look at the weather?
Occasionally.
Occasionally? Did you look at the weather for this trip?
Yeah, and it wasn't supposed to rain. In fact, the morning of, it said there was a 0% chance of rain, and it basically rained the entire game. Now,
you were lied to.
Yeah, which is why I normally don't count on the weather app because,
lies.
It could be wrong. Now, we only account for it when it's wrong and don't give it credit when it's right, but that's kind of like the weatherman, but I digress. The new stadium, by the way, the new booth is incredible. I just kept looking around, and I just couldn't believe it. To think that Kansas has an actual real football stadium, how quickly it came together. And, it's phenomenal. Just the sights of it. We had great seats. And it's funny because, my kids loved it, even though they were in the rain the entire time, basically. But they were standing on chairs and having fun and enjoying all of the colorful language they were hearing around them. As parents, we probably swear a little bit too much in front of our kids, but this was wild in terms of the colorful language. But that's something you expect, especially in a game where Kansas loses to its in-state rival. Basically everything about the game was incredible except for the game itself.
Everything was great except for the game itself. Let me ask you this for a rivalry like that, in-state rivalry, because I look at some other rivalries where they're on neutral sites and it's half one
sure,
school,
yeah.
and half the other. Are there a good amount of K-State fans there who travel, whether it's in Kansas or Lawrence or whether it's in Manhattan?
Yeah, mostly you're going to have the home team. But, yeah, of course, there's a short distance between the two schools.
Sure.
But, yeah, it was certainly mostly Kansas crowd. And, it was really cool, too, to see kind of the other side of the stadium that Leipold mentioned on his sideline. He can only see, the old side. But it was very, nostalgic for me to be back in Lawrence and to be able to at least see the old stadium where I'd spent so much time, as a student. And the funny part is, so we came very prepared for the cold, rainy weather. The problem was because of the fact that we thought it wasn't going to rain, we wore, instead of rain boots, Jordans. My son, Asher, he wore, Air Force Ones. So we had our shoe game on point and, had ponchos that we brought, didn't bring the ponchos to the game. So it was we were overly prepared for rainy, cold weather for the game, but we're completely unprepared at the game with all of the stuff that we came with. So completely ruined a pair of Jordans that I had. I mean, just a funny part of this entire equation because it was clear that the weather wasn't going to be great. But we were just steadfast in wanting to wear the shoes, wanting to not bring extra stuff with us. And we were lucky and very fortunate, though, because as we were walking to the stadium, I don't know somebody dropped a couple of ponchos that were in packages. So we were able to get at least a few ponchos to stand out in the rain during. But as we lose some power here in our studio, hopefully the light's still good. But, yeah, other than that, I mean, it was a great Lawrence experience. I mean, Johnny's Tavern, we got to eat pizza at Johnny's Tavern to watch Kansas play Louisville and whoop Louisville with Darren Peterson in their preseason exhibition game, which then had some fireworks after the fact. We went to
26 points. He's a stud.
He's a stud. We went to Free State Brewery. We went to Milton's for breakfast. So we did the whole Lawrence thing. It was an unbelievable time. My kids had a great time, and thanks to the Kansas Athletic Department for hooking us up with tickets. We had great seats, and it was a great experience inside that new stadium. Can't wait to go in a few years when it's completely done. All right, more on the trip to Lawrence, including my old house that I lived in that I went to, which was rat-infested, but has since been dramatically improved at 12th and Ohio. We'll get to that coming up, plus some more stories from the road, including why I love the state of Oklahoma. With Taven Turner, I'm Ari Tepkin, in for James Westlake today. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. All right, let's get into the big picture topics. Is BYU the best team of the Big 12 and the team to beat? We'll get to that next. Plus, other Tier 1, Tier 2. We tier the Big 12 teams after Week 9. It's all coming up next. This is a Modelo Monday here, powered by Modelo on Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn, and watched on Big 12 Studios.